because I believe every one of us are investors,
Yes.
whether it's an investment of time, of capital, of other resources, or whatever the case is.
Like right now, we're investing our time in this YouTube channel.
Exactly. Hoping to get a return.
Hey guys, welcome back to Building Your Wealth. My name is Talani.
And I'm IBK.
And this video is going to be talking about a number of different investment strategies. But before we get into it, I want to remind you, if you're not subscribed to this channel, make sure you go ahead and hit that subscribe button right now. And also go ahead and hit the notification button as well. So let's jump into it.
Awesome. Let's start with what is investing. And if I was to describe it, I would call it as deployment of capital or resources for an intended gain. And why do we invest? I believe that any of us, if we really dig deep into why we're investing, it's either because we are trying to protect our purchasing power, or increase our purchasing power over time.
Yes.
Those are the two different ways we invest. And the way I see a lot of people getting this wrong is they discount the inflation aspect in their investment. So if you ask me, if inflation is at 6% and you're in an investment vehicle that is getting you 4% every year,
you're losing money.
You're losing 2% every year in purchasing power because it's stuck on the nominal amount as opposed to purchasing power. And that's why I intentionally mentioned that the intent is either to protect or increase purchasing power. So in that instant where you're making a 4% return on your money every single year, which might look good, the nominal amount is increasing. But if inflation is at 6, your purchasing power has been reducing by 2% every year.
And that's a little bit harder to see.
Yes.
You know, hard, unless you're really watching it and like, it's not something that you can just, I guess, notice.
Inflation is insidious.
Yes, exactly. That's actually a good point.
Yeah, it was.
Inflation is insidious.
Yes, exactly. That's actually a good point. You don't really see inflation. It's just like after a while, you just kind of like, wait a minute.
Yeah.
Why is it that like before I used to be able to afford this and now I look like I can't?
Yep. I think one thing that is really crucial in order to be a successful investor, because I believe every one of us are investors, whether it's an investment of time, of capital, of other resources, or whatever the case is.
Like right now, we're investing our time in this YouTube channel.
Exactly. Hoping to get a return from engagement and subscriptions. But I think a low time preference in the mentality that people have towards investing is very crucial to your success. And when I say low time preference, I mean the need to not have the excellent result immediately. People who have high time preference, they're the ones that say, oh, if I invest $100 today, by next week, I want it to be $100,000. That's not gonna happen. That's exactly how you lose money. And when you try to put your money in investment vehicles and hope that they 10x quick, it's really the strategy to lose money. And so what I've seen that has worked for us over time is having the patience to hold on and endure volatility, the ups and downs of the market, and having strict rules for yourself in your investment strategy that you hold yourself accountable to, and you tend to have more success. There's actually a saying that when they analyze different portfolios of individuals, the most profitable portfolios belong to people who were dead. And the reason
were dead.
Yes.
Wow.
They didn't check it. They didn't do anything.
Yeah,
they just left it. And it's with the actions that people, use. Oh, it's up to date. Let me sell. Oh, it's down to date. Man, should I sell? Blah, blah. Is when you intervene, that's where you actually lose the most.
So you got to play the long game.
Long game for sure.
Or at least have a good mix of things.
So going into this, I was going to address a number of investment vehicles that were available to non-accredited investors. An accredited investor is someone who has a net worth of $1 million outside of their primary residence, and makes $200,000 a year, or has made $200,000 a year for the past 2 years, and has the expectation to make that amount in the future. Or as a couple, you both jointly have made $300,000 in the prior 2 years and anticipate to make the same amount going into the future. So if you satisfy those criteria, you are an accredited investor. Yeah.
Is it something that they just say, oh, congratulations, here's something in the mail, you are officially an accredited investor? Like, how do you know? Like, how would you?
So the way it works is there are certain investment vehicles that are only available to accredited investors.
Okay.
And for you to be able to put your money there, you need to prove these things that I've told you. So there's nothing that you get in the mail saying, congratulations.
It's not something you can apply for.
No.
Either. It's just more of like, whenever you're in a situation of investing in those things, you have to, gotcha.
Let's start off with some of the safer items to some of the things that are further out on the risk curve. First one I'm going to talk about is a CD or certificate of deposit. It's you opting to provide them money that you are not going to touch for a period of time in return for a specific interest rates. It could be like 2%, 3%, 4%. And the difference between this and the money you put in your checkings or savings is that you have the ability to access that money in your checkings or savings at any point, right? And you can pull it out and do whatever with it. It's much more liquid. When you invest in a CD, it gives the bank a guarantee that for the period of time where you're invested, you're not going to touch it, and it will give you a return for that. So the next item on the list is insurance policies. These, I feel like there are numerous like influencers out there talking about like, infinite banking through your insurance policy. And this is a situation where you deposit an amount, typically monthly, into this policy, and you have the ability to draw against it or against your policy and still have your capital that you invested accruing interest over time. The interest gain here is guaranteed, and because it's guaranteed, is typically lower. I think on most policies you get like 3%, maybe 4%. But the advantage for it is that you can draw against that and borrow against your insurance policy to give you short-term capital funding, which you eventually have to pay back into it. So next item is bonds. And the definition of a bond is a loan that you provide to the government for a certain period of time for a interest rate in return. So people invest in like government bonds, corporate bonds, and all this is loaning. For a government bond is loaning money to the government in order to get a return back on your capital. Or a corporate bond is loaning money to a company so that they can fund their business operations for a return as well.
If I wanted to invest in a bond like right now, what would I do?
It depends on which bond. Say, let's do a government treasury, which is like, let's say a 1 or 2 year treasury. You can go on the U.S. Treasury website, forget the URL off the top of my head, and you can navigate to invest your funds through the U.S. Treasury for a specified period of time for a certain return. So this is accessible.
So you can make that account online.
And
Start. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
That's just what I wanted to ask.
The next item is stocks. I'm not going to go too much into this.
Most people know.
Most people know how to invest in stock, open up a brokerage account, and what you're doing is you're investing in equity interest in the company that you are selecting to put your money into.
So we'll talk about stocks in more detail in another video too. So.
Real estate, which we talk about ad nauseum on this channel. I'm sure everybody's interested or aware of that. It's when you invest in real estate, you're either investing for cash flow or appreciation, and it's a method to either increase your earning potential or protect your capital over a period of time. There are also real estate investment trusts, aka REITs, and these are pools of capital, which, for example, when you invest in like a specific real estate property, you are the sole owner and you control that property by yourself. But when you invest in a REIT, it's a pool of capital that people put together, and that pool of capital is controlled by a custodian, and they use that to purchase real estate and give the investors a return based on the invested capital that they put into that portfolio.
So actually, I think we invested in REITs before we even started investing in real estate. And I don't know how REITs are doing now.
Not very great.
But typically I would say it would be a good advice for some people who are trying to get into real estate to kind of start off with REITs. But I don't know if maybe there's not a good time to do that. I don't know.
Part of the issues that REITs are experiencing right now that has made them not as profitable is a lot of these REITs invest in like commercial real estate. And the commercial real estate market is not as structured as the residential real estate, which means the amount of like loan programs and like funding programs can be very, very widely different. And they're typically shorter term, which means very rarely would you get a 30-year fixed rate commercial real estate loan. They're typically like, you know, some people just look for 1-year funding, 5-year funding, 10-year funding, and they need to roll those over. And what you're experiencing now today that is making it really hard on commercial real estate is a lot of those buildings that were profitable, you know, pre-COVID, is the amount of commercial leases from like corporations and different companies renting out units is reducing because of the work from home phenomena that's coming in. And so companies are reducing the amount of space that they need for office space or switching to co-working spaces. The next item is that as they roll over these commercial loans into the current interest rates, which are ridiculously high based on the past 10 years of trends, it means the operating costs of these properties are going higher as the revenue that the owner of the building is reducing in revenue. So you have this shrinking of the margin from both ends on this property, which is causing REITs not to do as well right now. But prior to this, they were really great sources of like passive income. Their dividend payments were typically very high. They paid like 6, 7, 8% dividend quarterly based on the number you invested. And it was a great way to get passive income. You never really saw a lot of like rapid appreciation in the equity you put in, but you got a lot of return on your dividend payments. So
do we still have REITs?
Oh no, we got out of that at a great time. We liquidated our REITs in 2021, and we haven't been in them since.
I didn't even know this. So, cool. Thank you, CFO. Things I learned on this channel, like about my own life. It's quite alarming. Anyways, moving on. So mutual funds, the next one.
Yes, let's talk about mutual funds. Mutual funds are pretty investment vehicles where you get a mutual fund manager and they pull capital together to invest in all kinds of activities. It could be a mutual fund consisting of some bond portfolios, some high growth.
So it's a mix of things.
Yes.
So like stocks can be in there.
Yes, it could be. It's a mix of all kinds of different. They're also like funds of funds. There are mutual funds that are made up of other mutual funds, and so it's pretty much an investment manager or a corporation deciding to pull capital together to invest on behalf of their.
So how would you invest in a mutual fund? Like what would you do?
Oh, these are available through numerous brokerage accounts.
So the same way you could invest in stocks.
Yes, there are mutual funds available there.
Okay, cool.
There is lending capital pools. And these are companies actually that solicit people to deposit capital with them. They will lend this capital out to either like developers, flippers, all kinds of like different initiatives, and they will get a return. I'll give you an example. When we decided to do a renovation like our flip that we did, it was through a company that did these capital. Gotcha. So they will lend you.
It's like a hard money lender?
Yes. Okay. They're typically for hard money lending or like it's more short-term lending. So, they'll say, hey, give us X amount and your return is going to be 8%. And so you tend to get like higher rates of return on those at shorter term. And so it's risky because, you have the opportunity to lose money whenever you loan it out. So you're really reliant on the ability of the company that is running this capital pool to do a lot of like underwriting and screening of the borrowers to reduce the likelihood that there's a default from their end.
Gotcha.
Lastly, I will talk about Bitcoin. And this is more of I will call it a monetary strategy or a saving strategy to protect purchasing power over time. So if you're not aware, Bitcoin is regarded as right now a cryptocurrency. It was actually the first one that was created in 2009. The infrastructure that built Bitcoin was already created many years prior. But the idea behind this is there's a finite amount, very similar to real estate. And you have an opportunity to buy into an equity stake in this final amount of monetary currency that's digitally native to the internet. So we have videos that are going to talk about this more in detail on our members channel. So we really encourage you to join on there and kind of explore this avenue with us if you're interested in this topic. And we look forward to hearing from y'all there. But that kind of wraps up the different investment strategies.
Yes. And there are more. Go into detail about each and every one of them, which we probably will over time. But we just want to kind of just give y'all a quick spiel on each one and kind of get y'all thinking about the fact that it's not just real estate, it's not just stocks. You know, there are other options out there if you are, you know, serious about investing and serious about building your wealth.
Correct. If you have any questions about anything I talk about, I would really love to hear from you in the comments. So reach out. We'll be reading through the comments and responding to you guys. We really love the engagement, and we love when we get the back and forth.
Yes.
The goal of this channel is to educate, and we would love to do that and know how best to serve the questions you are asking.
Yes. I always say, like, you know, shooting the video, talking is cool and all, but the fun part is really in like engaging with you guys and answering your questions and, you know, seeing that y'all are actually getting value from this. So if you're not subscribed, like I mentioned earlier, make sure you hit that subscribe button. And I think that's it. We will see y'all in our next video. Bye.